Good morning and welcome to Flannel Hill Farm. Today we're going to talk about what you need to be ready for chicks. I would have these things before you even order them. That way they're on property before you order them, before they hatch in a week, and before you get them in 3 days. So first you need a bedding that's not slick. So you need something they can get traction on, such as pine shavings, newspaper, paper towel. So a lot of people love the pine shavings idea. They get traction, they smell good, they absorb their bodily functions, they're kind of a good all-around option. You can layer them, you can use them in compost, so it's a good all-around option. Newspaper, some people have problems with newspaper because of the ink. You don't want your chickens getting into the ink. You don't want that ink maybe in your compost pile. You might not want them to be able to scratch it up and get down below where there's something slick. And paper towel, the same kind of thing. Again, if there's dyes in your paper towel, you might not want that in your compost pile. You're not going to want them eating that. If they scratch through it, they can get down to something that's slick. It's neither paper towel nor newspaper is going to be as absorbent. It's not going to smell better. So, options. Number 2, you need a brooder. So you either need, and the brooder's got to be draft free, so it's got to have like solid sides to it. They have these rings that you can put like on a piece of plywood, and then you put a ring on it, and then you put your bedding inside of it. What I prefer to use is a stock tank. That way they're kind of all enclosed. You can just dump it out into a compost pile when they're done. You can do a plastic pool, like a plastic kiddie pool. The thing I don't like about a plastic kiddie pool are the short sides. So they're going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and if you're not ready to put them outside yet, they can just jump out the sides. Some people use a tote. The thing I don't like about a tote is it's not big enough. So when you have little chicks, it's big enough. As they grow, like laying hens, if you keep them in a brooder longer, because they mature slower, they get so big, and then you don't have enough room per chicken. Some people use a big box, so maybe you get a fridge and you open it up sideways so that you could tip it on its side. You could use a big box. You need a 1/2 inch to 1 square foot per chick up to 10 weeks. So you get them, that first day you get them, they need a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch. Per chick. And then by 10 weeks, they need 1 square foot per chick. Number 3, you need heat. You need a source of heat, whether that's a heat lamp, or a brooder plate. Heat lamps are a good option. They've been used for a long time. They do suck up quite a bit of energy, and they do get really hot. So you got to make sure that you keep them up so your chickens can't touch them, so that your chicks can't get a hold of them. You want to make sure that it's not too hot for your chicks. The brooder plate is a plate that has adjustable feet on it, and they can actually get under it, and it kind of mimics like a mother hen laying on top of them. The thing I don't really like about that is the cord. With a heat lamp, it's above them, the cord goes up. With a brooder plate, the cord's kind of right in there with them. And then you got to make sure that you get the thing on top, the little triangle thing, so that they can't get up on top and then get out of your brooder. Number 4, thermometer. You have to keep track of the temperature, so that you can make sure that when you first get them, they're at 95 degrees. And then you can drop it after a week to 90 degrees, and then you can drop it after a week to 85 degrees. So you got to keep your temperature unless you can read your chicks. Your chicks will tell you if they're too hot, too cold, too hot, too cold, just right. So you can get like a room thermometer and put it inside the brooder. You can get an infrared laser thermometer. Number 5, waterer. You need an accessible waterer for chicks. So you need something that's going to be nice and low, but you also want to keep it clean. Chicks are very curious. They are very inquisitive. They like to explore. So these chicks are going to be in, on, around, all over this waterer. So you want it to be accessible to them, but also something that can stay clean. They'll stay off of on top of it so that they're not pooping in their water. You also need a feeder. That's number 6. You need a feeder. Same thing. You want it to be accessible to them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. For laying chickens, sometimes for meat birds, you need to give them feed for 12 hours and take them off feed for 12 hours so that they don't overdo themselves. But also you want that to stay clean. So there are some feeders that come with like a cover over them and they can only get in with their heads. There are some that are wide open troughs and then they have a bar on top that spins so that when they try to land on it, it spins and then they fall off. So that's just a preference thing, whatever you can find. Some people just put a bowl in there and they just clean it out constantly. Number 7, you need access to fresh water. They need water. I think I went out with my chicks. I went out like 4 times a day. I made sure they had fresh water, fresh food, made sure that they weren't eating food with their poop in it, made sure that I covered up any kind of like spots where they were using the bathroom in one spot in the brooder. So making sure that they have fresh water all the time is a big deal. Number 8 is feed. You need to have the proper feed for your chicks for what they're going to grow up to be. So there is a very fine line, and I don't want to get real into it, but your protein is going to be significantly different between laying hens and meat birds, and also your calcium. So at certain parts of your chicks / pullet life, they're going to need a certain amount of protein when they're real little, and then as they grow up, layers need more calcium than meat birds do. Meat birds just need to stay on a protein diet. So feed is a big one, and you gotta know where you want to get your feed. Do you want your feed to be non-GMO? Do you want it to not have corn in it? Do you want it to not have wheat in it? Do you want it to be a mixture of plants and critters? Do you want it to be... These are all things you need to figure out. Do you trust a certain company? Do you not trust a certain company? Do you want to get it locally? These are all things you got to think about before you even get chicks, because you got to have those feeders, waterers all ready. And number 9, last but not least, number 9, vitamins and electrolytes to add to your water or your food. You can get these at the store. You can go to the store and you can get vitamins and electrolytes to put in the food, in the water. A lot of people will just add some apple cider vinegar to their water. That helps with parasites and stuff. So those are things you got to look into and figure out if that's something you want to do or not. Kona beer. So those are the 9 things I would have ready before I even ordered chicks. I did not have all of that ready. I had most of it ready, and then I kept looking into chicks after I ordered them, and I was like, oh boy. So I would have that ready beforehand. That way you're just there, good to go, and you can bring them home and they got somewhere to go right away. So 9 things, make sure you're ready for chicks. On your way back down the hill, if you wouldn't mind liking, sharing, subscribing, hitting that little bell notification button thing down there, and make sure that you all are ready for chicks before you get them. We appreciate y'all.